Welcome to the Make It a Better Day podcast, where we explore ways to create positive change in our lives and the world around us. I'm Alex.
And I'm Victoria. Today we're diving into a topic that couldn't be more relevant in our hyper-connected world: the power of unplugging and how it can transform our daily lives.
You know, this topic really hit home for me yesterday. I found myself juggling 3 different devices during what was supposed to be family dinner time. It was this moment of clarity where I realized just how disconnected we can become in our attempts to stay connected.
That's such a relatable moment, and it perfectly sets up our discussion of today's article, Unplug to Recharge: The Power of Leisure in Making Better Days. The article centers around this brilliant quote from Anne Lamott: "Almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you."
That comparison really strikes a chord. Why do you think we're so quick to restart our devices, but hesitate to give ourselves the same consideration?
The article points out how our society has conditioned us to view constant productivity as a virtue. We've created this culture where being busy is seen as a status symbol, almost like a badge of honor.
The research cited in the article about this is fascinating. Studies show the average person now spends over 7 hours daily on screens and checks their phone nearly 100 times a day. That's staggering when you think about it.
And those numbers have real consequences. The article mentions several studies linking excessive screen time to increased stress levels, poor sleep quality, and decreased mental well-being. But what's really interesting is how simple changes can reverse these effects.
Speaking of changes, the article highlights some fascinating examples of successful people who prioritize unplugging. Could you share some of those?
Lin-Manuel Miranda conceived the idea for Hamilton while on vacation, simply reading for pleasure. Steve Jobs was famous for his walking meetings. And there's Arianna Huffington's powerful story about how hitting rock bottom led her to revolutionize her approach to success.
Tell us more about Arianna's experience. What makes her story so significant?
She literally collapsed from exhaustion in 2007. That wake-up call led her to completely redefine success beyond just money and power. Now, through Thrive Global, she's helping others avoid hitting that same wall. The article uses her story to illustrate how burnout often precedes breakthrough.
The article presents several practical strategies for incorporating more leisure into our lives. What stood out to you as particularly doable?
I was intrigued by the concept of niksen, the Dutch practice of purposefully doing nothing. It's fascinating how different cultures approach rest. The article also discusses the Japanese concept of forest bathing and the Scandinavian practice of hygge.
Those cultural perspectives add such depth to the discussion. The article also mentions something called a tech sunset. Have you tried implementing that?
Yes, I started that practice last month. No screens for an hour before bed. The first week was challenging, but I've noticed a huge improvement in my sleep quality. The article explains the science behind why this works. It's about both the physical effects of blue light and the mental boundary it creates.
Let's talk about the workplace implications. The article mentions how companies like Google and Nike are incorporating rest into their culture. Why do you think more organizations are starting to value unplugging?
They're following the research. Studies cited in the article show that regular breaks improve focus, creativity, and overall productivity. Microsoft research found that simple meditation breaks increased employee productivity by 28%, and a Stanford study showed walking increased creative output by 60%.
Those statistics are compelling. The article also discusses something called attention restoration theory. Could you explain that concept?
It's fascinating. This theory suggests that nature has a unique ability to restore our mental energy. Even brief exposure to natural environments can reduce stress and improve focus. That's why activities like gardening or walking in parks can be so rejuvenating.
The article makes an important distinction between true leisure and what it calls pseudo-leisure. How would you define that difference?
Pseudo-leisure might be mindlessly scrolling through social media or binge-watching shows, activities that feel like breaks, but often leave us more drained. True leisure engages us while allowing our minds to refresh, whether that's through creative hobbies, physical activities, or genuine rest.
Let's talk about the 15-minute challenge the article presents. Could you walk our listeners through what that involves?
The challenge is beautifully simple. Find a quiet space, turn off all devices, and just be present for 15 minutes. No agenda, no goals, just allowing yourself to exist without external input. The key is starting small and being consistent.
That seems manageable. What about people who say they're too busy for breaks?
The article addresses this resistance beautifully. It compares taking breaks to physical exercise. The busier you are, the more essential it becomes. Research shows that taking regular breaks actually increases productivity and creativity.
The article mentions several physical benefits of unplugging. Could you share some of those?
The list is impressive. Reduce stress hormones, lower blood pressure, improved sleep quality, better digestion, and enhanced immune function. There's even evidence suggesting regular breaks can help prevent burnout and reduce anxiety.
Let's get practical. The article outlines what an ideal unplugged evening might look like. Could you walk us through that?
At 6 p.m., set your phone to Do Not Disturb. Spend 30 minutes preparing a mindful meal, eating without screens. Take a short walk after dinner, then engage in a hobby like reading or crafting. Finally, some light stretching or meditation before bed.
That sounds wonderful, but I can hear some listeners thinking, that's not realistic for my life. How does the article suggest adapting these practices?
The key is starting small and being flexible. Maybe begin with just 5 minutes of phone-free time in the morning, or designate one meal per day as screen-free. The article emphasizes that any step toward more mindful living is valuable.
Before we wrap up, what's one key insight you hope our listeners take away from today's discussion?
That unplugging isn't just about avoiding burnout, it's about creating space for joy, creativity, and deeper connections. Remember, sometimes the most productive thing we can do is pause.
Beautiful. And for listeners wanting to explore this topic further, Make It a Better Day has some wonderful resources available.
Yes, our website offers articles, videos, and more for help in creating better days. And if you want to support us, check out our Redbubble store. We have beautiful journals, mugs, apparel, and more.
Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear about your unplugging experiences. Share them with us using hashtag #MakeItABetterDay on social media.
Until next time, remember that every moment of intentional rest is an investment in a better tomorrow. Keep making it a better day.